Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Is anyone on the call? Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. I see Manasi Ganga, you've joined. Hare
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev.
How are you doing, Mataji?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm hurting. What can I tell you? Not doing well.
Your back or shoulders?
Neck and shoulders. Oh boy, whatever. Anyway, if anybody tries to call me, it won't be possible. My phone went dead, so after class now I'll have to go run to the AT&T store and get another SIM card, and I have another phone to use too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to do that right after the class.
Did you get snow there in Chicago?
Oh yes. Did you?
We did. Yeah, we did too. Crazy weather.
One
day people are wearing short sleeves. Next day we're wearing coats and scarves. That's
and
crazy.
I'll just put my boots on when I go out again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, we have 4 of us. Lavanya Mataji. Leela Manjari Mataji, are you on the call? I see Katiravan Krishnamurti. I have a feeling that that's Leela Manjari's Zoom. Well, it's 5. Is it 5 after? I think I should get started with the prayers. Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtat prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Okay, Matajis, today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 9, texts 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so I guess I can start the reading and then I can have some others read too. Okay, and maybe explain. Text 6. Dhruva uvacha yoanta pravishya mama vacham imam prasupitam sanjivayati akila shakti darasvadamna anyanscha asta charana shravanatvad adin Padanamo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Dhruva Maharaj said, "My dear Lord, you are all powerful. After entering within me, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses, my hands, legs, ears, touch, sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you." Purport. Dhruva Maharaj could understand very easily the difference between his condition before and after attaining spiritual realization and seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He could understand that his life force and activities had been sleeping. Unless one comes to the spiritual platform, his bodily limbs, mind, and other facilities within the body are understood to be sleeping. Unless one is spiritually situated, all his activities are taken as the dead man's activities or ghostly activities. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed a song in which he addresses himself. "O living entity, get up. How long shall you sleep on the lap of Maya? Now you have the opportunity of possessing a human form of body. Now try to get up and realize yourself." The Vedas also declare, get up, get up. You have the opportunity, the boon of the human form of life. Now realize yourself. These are the Vedic injunctions. Dhruva Maharaj actually experienced that upon enlightenment of his senses on the spiritual platform, he could understand the essence of Vedic instruction, that the Supreme Godhead is the Supreme Person. He is not impersonal. Dhruva Maharaj could immediately understand this fact. He was aware that for a very long time, he was practically sleeping, and he felt the impetus to glorify the Lord according to the Vedic conclusion. A mundane person cannot offer any prayer or glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he has no realization of the Vedic conclusion. When Dhruva Maharaj therefore found this difference within himself, he could immediately understand that it was because of the causeless mercy of the Lord. He offered obeisances to the Lord with great respect and reverence, completely understanding that the Lord's favor was upon him. This spiritual enlivenment of Dhruva Maharaj's senses and mind was due to the action of the internal potency of the Lord. In this verse, therefore, the word svadamna means by spiritual energy. Spiritual enlightenment is possible by the mercy of the spiritual energy of the Lord. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is first addressed to the spiritual energy of the Lord, Hare. This spiritual energy acts when a living entity fully surrenders and accepts his position as an eternal servitor. When a person places himself at the disposal or order of the Supreme Lord, that is called Sevanmukha. At that time, the spiritual energy gradually reveals the Lord to him. Without revelation by the spiritual energy, one is unable to offer prayers glorifying the Lord. Any amount of philosophical speculation or poetic expression by mundane persons is still considered to be the action and reaction of the material energy. When one is actually enlivened by the spiritual energy, all his senses become purified, and he engages only in the service of the Lord. At that time, his hands, legs, ears, tongue, mind, genitals, everything engage in the service of the Lord. Such an enlightened devotee no longer has any material activities, nor has he any interest in being materially engaged. This process of purifying the senses and engaging them in the service of the Lord is known as bhakti, or devotional service. In the beginning, the senses are engaged by the direction of the spiritual master and Shastra. And after realization, when the same senses are purified, the engagement continues. The difference is that in the beginning, the senses are engaged in a mechanical way, but after realization, they are engaged in spiritual understanding. Okay. And now we have text 7. Would anybody like to read text 7?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can read.
Oh, very nice. Thank you, Lavanya Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ekastvam eka bhagavan idam atma saktya mayakhyayor gunaya mahad atye sesham srishtvanyu purushastad ashat guneshu nane vadarushu vibhavashudvat vibhasi. Translation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My Lord, you are the Supreme One, but by your different energies, you appear differently in the spiritual and material worlds. You create the total energy of the material world by your external potency, and after creation, you enter within the material world as the Supersoul. You are the Supreme Person. You are the Supreme Person, and through the temporary modes of material nature, you create varieties of manifestation, just as fire entering into wood of different shapes burns brilliantly in different varieties. Purport. Dhruva Maharaja realized that the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, acts through his different energies, not that he becomes void or impersonal and thus becomes all pervading. The Mayavadi philosopher thinks that the absolute truth, being spread throughout the cosmic manifestation, has no personal form. But here, Dhruva Maharaja, upon realization of the Vedic conclusion, says, you are spread all over the cosmic manifestation by your energy. This energy is basically spiritual, but because it acts in the material world temporarily, it is called Maya or illusory energy. In other words, for everyone but the devotees, the Lord's energy acts as external energy. Dhruva Maharaja could understand this fact very nicely, and he could understand also that the energy and the energetic are one and the same. The energy cannot be separated from the energetic. 1 second, Mataji. 1 second. The identity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the feature of Paramatma or Super Soul is admitted herein. His original spiritual energy enlivens the material energy, and thus the dead body appears to have life force. Voidist philosophers think that under certain material conditions, the symptoms of life occur in the material body, but the fact is that the material body cannot act on its own. Even a machine needs separate energy, electricity, steam, etc. It is stated in this verse that the material energy acts in varieties of material bodies, just as fire burns differently in different wood according to the size and quality of the wood. In the case of devotees, the same energy is transformed into spiritual energy. This is possible because the energy is originally spiritual, not material. As it is said, Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta, the original energy inspires a devotee, and thus he engages all his bodily limbs in the service of the Lord. The same energy as external potency engages the ordinary non devotees in material activities for sense enjoyment. We should mark the difference between Maya and Swadhama. For devotees, the Swadhama acts, whereas in the case of non devotees, the Maya energy acts. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Lavanya Mataji. Okay, we have one more verse. Would someone care to read text 8, please?
Daya Vayunaya Dam Akasta Visvam
Thank you,
Supta
Madhusudanga Mataji.
Supta Prabhuta Iva Nata Bhavat Prapannaha Tasya Bhavargya Saranam Tava Paramulam Vismaryate Krita Vidakatam Artha Bando. Translation. O my master, Lord Brahma is fully surrendered unto you. In the beginning, you gave him knowledge, and thus he could see and understand the entire universe, just as a person awakens from sleep and visualizes his immediate duties. You are the only shelter of all persons who desire liberation, and you are the friend of all who are distressed. How, therefore, can a learned person who has perfect knowledge ever forget you? Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be forgotten, even for a moment, by his surrendered devotees. The devotee understands that the Lord's causeless mercy is beyond his estimation. He cannot know how much he is benefited by the grace of the Lord. The more a devotee engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, the more encouragement is supplied by the energy of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that to those who are constantly engaged in devotional service with love and affection, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives intelligence from within, and thus they may make further progress. Being so encouraged, the devotee can never forget at any moment the personality of Godhead. He always feels obliged to him for having achieved increased power in devotional service by his grace. Saintly persons like Sanaka, Sanatana, and Lord Brahma were able to see the entire universe by the mercy of the Lord through knowledge of the Lord. The example is given that a person may apparently abstain from sleep all day, but as long as he is not spiritually enlightened, he is actually sleeping. He may sleep at night and perform his duties in the daytime, but as long as he does not come to the platform of working in spiritual enlightenment, he is considered to be always sleeping. A devotee, therefore, never forgets the benefit derived from the Lord. The Lord is addressed here as Artha Bandhu, which means friend of the distressed. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, after many, many births of executing severe austerities in search of knowledge, one comes to the point of real knowledge and becomes wise when one surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Mayavadi philosopher who does not surrender unto the Supreme Person is understood to be lacking in real knowledge. The devotee in perfect knowledge cannot forget his obligation to the Lord at any moment.
Thank you very much, Lavanya Mataji and Manasi Ganga Mataji, for reading. Oh boy, I will try as best as I can to give an explanation of text 6 to start. And of course, afterward, you can always add or correct me. So we know that Dhruva Maharaj became, he was able to see the Lord face to face. This is a beautiful, beautiful pastime, if you will. He was given his own planet known as the pole star, or Dhruvaloka, which is never annihilated even at the time of the dissolution of the universe. And he executed, how did this happen? He executed the order of his spiritual master. And so he became so successful that he saw the Lord. And then only by the causeless mercy of the Lord was he able to execute prayers to the Lord. So this, I think, should be a beautiful example for all of us, that as we progress in devotional service, or as our goal we want to progress in devotional service until we come to prema, of course, in this one lifetime. And Dhruva Maharaj is a very nice example, because here we know that when he first started out his life, he had all these material desires. But once he surrendered unto the Lord and he engaged in devotional service, there was a complete transformation, and the Lord looked favorably upon him and showed himself to Dhruva Maharaj. Now, how is this possible? Once again, only by the causeless mercy of the Lord. It's up to the Lord to choose if he wants to show himself to a particular devotee. Okay, and he may show himself to anyone he wants to. It doesn't have to be, a devotee in ISKCON or anything like that. He can show himself whenever he wants to. Okay, so now in this particular text, it shows how Dhruva Maharaj understood the complete difference of what he was like before he became spiritually realized and after. And that, it's a very marked difference for him. So he says that, now, of course, once he attained spiritual realization, he could see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. That's for me, it's very important to see this, because we get to know that it is very possible for this to happen if we continue in our devotional service to the Lord with faith and purity. And, as we, not in purity, but as we do it with sincerity until we become purified. And so he explains, Prabhupada explains, well, what was he like prior to achieving this spiritual realization? He was asleep, basically. Okay, it was as if he had no life force. Okay, before he became spiritually realized, all the bodily limbs of his body, everything, his mind, his facilities, his hands, his arms, all his limbs we're sleeping, basically. It's like being a dead man. And so we need to understand that unless we are spiritually situated in this life, we're basically asleep. We're either asleep or dead. Okay. And there was a song composed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he said this. He said, "Look, get up, living entity." He was saying this actually about himself. Get yourself up and quit sleeping in Maya. Quit living this life of illusion, which is temporary, which will give you nothing but pain and suffering. Now we have the opportunity. Now he has the opportunity of possessing the human form of life. So he has this opportunity to become realized. And so the same for us. Okay. And this is what is written in the Vedic scriptures. This is our opportunity. We don't have this human form of life often. It's very, very rare to get a human body. But it is only in the human body that we have this opportunity to realize ourselves. And so we should take full advantage of this. This is a great opportunity. It's greatly auspicious to attain a human body. And look at the majority of people, they don't even understand that there's a God, let alone, how to advance the body, advance the spirit, the soul within the body. Okay, so until Dhruva Maharaj became self-realized, he didn't understand the Vedic injunctions. Okay, he didn't understand that that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a person, and that he is not impersonal. Now, once he understood this fact, of course, he was able to see the Lord face to face. And then he realized what his life was like prior to that. He's like, oh my God, I've been asleep all this time. What have I been doing? I've been wasting my time. And so once he was given this opportunity, he just wanted to glorify the Lord all the time, all the time. He couldn't forget the Lord for 1 second. And it's only when that realization or that knowledge comes to us through the mercy of the spiritual master and through the mercy of Krishna that we begin to say, okay, you know what? This is a great opportunity. And now I really understand what my life is really all about. And it has nothing to do with enjoying my senses or understanding basically prior to the self-realization, one is understanding the Lord. If one understands the Lord at all, it's from the external perspective. And that may be impersonal, or it may be even atheistic. Okay. And of course, Dhruva Maharaj just became ecstatic because he realized that without the mercy of the Lord, he could not have come to this realization. He could not have become self-realized. He could not have seen the Lord face to face. So again, he wants to offer all of his respect and reverence to the Lord. And because he knew, wow, you know what? And they do say this in Christian scripture frequently. They will say, the Lord is upon me. Now the Lord is upon me. So one knows when one has been given the favor of the Lord upon oneself. Okay. And of course, this is not due to that external potency of the Lord, which I was just talking about, or the external potency of the Lord. All of this is due to the internal potency of the Lord. And okay. So when does the spiritual energy within us, when does it act? It acts when we are fully surrendered to the Lord and we accept our position as a servitor. And it's an eternal servitor, not just any servitor, an eternal servitor to the Lord. Okay. And that's called Sevan Mukha. At that time, that's when the Lord will gradually reveal himself to that jiva or to that devotee. So we can't, if we're not given revelation, okay, by the spiritual energy, we can't even offer favorable prayers to the Lord to glorify him. And so any type of speculating by mundane persons, once again, is considered the reaction of the material energy. And once we've become enlivened by spiritual energy and our senses become purified, and of course, this is a process, so then we only engage in the service of the Lord. So all of those limbs that were referred to in the beginning, hands, legs, ears, touch, sensation, life force, and especially my power of speech, all of that is once our senses are purified, they're engaged in the service of the Lord. There's no other activity, material activity for the devotee once he's become enlightened, and he doesn't have any interest in being material engaged. So what is this process? Well, we know it to be bhakti, this process of purifying our senses and engaging them in the service of the Lord. That's known as bhakti or devotional service. So when we first start out in Krishna consciousness, first of all, once we become initiated by a spiritual master, and even before initiation, if we take shelter of a spiritual master, even before initiation, all of our senses are engaged by the direction of the spiritual master and the Shastra. And then, little by little, after we become self-realized, then our senses, once they're purified, we continue this process of engaging, and we just continue the engagement until the Lord takes us back home. And so, in the beginning, it's almost mechanical. Our senses are engaged mechanically, and after we become self-realized, they're engaged in spiritual understanding. And I think that is what the difference is here between a sleeping person, a person who's asleep and needs to get up, and the person who becomes self-realized. Okay, and this is what is demanded of us, basically, according to Vedic injunction, the Vedic scripture, that we wake up our sleeping senses and bodies and minds and all of that and engage it in the service of the Lord. And that is how we are utilizing this body in its rightful way. And so I think this is really beautiful that Dhruv Maharaj actually, became so self-realized that he knew, oh my God, I'd been sleeping all this time, and now I have awoken and I have seen the Lord, how blessed I am, how totally blessed I am to have received the Lord's mercy. When I think of that, and I've said this before, I've got a ways to go before I could see the Lord. Like I said, I'd probably, at this point, I'd pass out from just awe and reverence. And I would still be in awe and reverence if I ever did see him. But there are those devotees who do get to see the Lord, and it is possible. And Dhruva Maharaj really points this out, and it gives me hope. How can I say? It just gives me so much hope to know that these things have actually happened. And it's not just through doing yogic postures and seeing maybe the four-armed form of the Lord, which is definitely a partial form of the Lord, no doubt. But to actually see the Lord face to face, I believe it would be in his two-handed form, is I can't even imagine it. It's unbelievable, but it is, according to scripture, I see his story and makes it possible. So that's text 8. I was wondering if maybe Lavanya, would you like to speak a little bit about text 8, and I can fill in anything that you don't have to explain everything if you don't want to, but it'd be kind of nice instead of just listening to me the whole time.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. You explained nicely. You want me to talk a little bit on text 8?
Yes.
Okay. One second, Mataji. So as you said, Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva is empowered by the Lord to speak, to glorify the Lord. And so he is actually saying that he is till now sleeping, and he just came out of that sleep, and now he's like enlightened, like what to do. And actually he's enlightened now, and he is now saying that he is awake right now, and so he want to do his duties immediately. And so because he got this knowledge, so the Vedas, because when the conch shell of the Lord touches on his forehead, it means like it means like the Vedas, or the actual essence of all the Vedas, or the knowledge is given to him. And so that's when he realizes that so he out of the Lord's causeless mercy, he got the spiritual enlightenment, and he wants to glorify the Lord. So that's what I understood, Mataji. And also here, as per the spiritual energy, so whatever energy, so I like this one point in the 7th verse, like whatever energy you have, that is there, and the Lord's energy, so that acts differently for the devotees and non-devotees. So for devotees, it becomes Svadharma, where it becomes a spiritual energy, where they are engaging their senses, their whole body to the service of the Lord. And whereas non-devotees, they use their senses and the body in the Maya. So that acts as Maya. So that energy acts as Maya. Here it becomes a spiritual. But the whole energy is a spiritual energy. But when it comes into the contact of material world, then it becomes Maya. And but for the devotees, it acts in different case. So here there is an example given in the 7th verse also, that there is just as fire burns differently in different wood according to the size and quality of the wood, just like that, the material energy acts in varieties of material bodies. So we know that a lot of different types of wood burns differently. So that example is given here to state that. So for the different kinds of material bodies, the different material energy, the energy acts in different ways. So here, the Dhruva Maharaja is very much acting under the supreme energy or spiritual energy of the Lord, and he is trying to glorify the Lord. And he is understanding his position, like how he is till now and what he has to do from next onwards. And so that's what. So that's what even from Bhagavad Gita also Prabhupada quotes that who are constantly engaged in devotional service with love and affection, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives intelligence from within, and thus they may make further progress. So the intelligence is given by the Lord himself out of his causeless mercy, because the devotee is so nicely engaged in the devotional service. He sees that, and he gives the power and the strength, and he just and then the devotee progresses. So the same thing is happening here also. Thank you, Mataji. That's what I want to say.
Yes, very nice. Yeah, and just that realization that the body itself, you know, as you pointed out, the body can't do anything unless it's given this life force by the Lord. It has to come through the Lord. It has to come from an energy source. And they give this example of a machine needing separate energy. So how's the machine going to work without either electricity or steam or gas, whatever source of energy it needs to be propelled? The same thing with the material body. I kind of see the material body in a much different way now. And without the spirituality, it's just a body. It's material, and it's very functioning almost mechanically, as opposed to living with full spiritual energy. It's pretty amazing. Yes, thank you very much, Lavanya Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
We don't need a long synopsis, but Manasi Ganga Mataji, would you care to speak on text 8 at all?
Lavanya just spoke on text 8.
I thought she was just doing 7.
You told her to do 8.
Did I tell you?
Yeah, I switched. Yeah, you told me 8, but I switched some points from 7 also. Both.
She ended up doing both because she was confused.
No, Mataji. Sorry, you can go ahead and give some first.
Oh no! It's you pretty much spoke on both, so that's fine.
Yeah, I just sorry about that. Duh. I said 8 and I meant to say 7. I apologize for that. Yeah, and also I'm just thinking of before coming to Krishna consciousness. It talks about that in text 8. Like before I came to Krishna consciousness, I was just going about my duties all day. It says a person may apparently abstain from sleep all day, but as long as he's not spiritually enlightened, he's actually sleeping. You know, prior to Krishna consciousness, I could not see that. I did not see that whatever I was doing during my day, many times, I'm not saying at every moment, but much of the time, I didn't have any spiritual enlightenment. And so I was asleep. It's like wasting precious time once again. And so that's the way it's pointed out here. We should never take advantage of or forget that benefit that we are given from the Lord. Once he gives us this spiritual enlightenment, and he does that in so many different ways by his internal potency, and of course through the what am I going to say, the super soul or the Paramatma, you cannot forget the Lord, and you cannot forget him, and you feel obliged to him all the time. You feel like you must reciprocate. And so it also points out too that the Mayavadis, they see the spiritual energy covering the whole universe, but they fail to understand the real knowledge that the Lord is a person, and he's a person who, how can I say, disseminates or spreads or supplies his energy to that whole cosmos, but or universe. But it does not mean that he's not a person. He's still a person, and you can't come to that realization without this devotional service, without the knowledge of the Lord. So I just wanted to say that. And also, I just wanted to comment about this morning. Guru Maharaj was talking about some of the miracles that have occurred in ISKCON. And I'm telling you, when I hear those miracles again, it just, I don't even know how to put it, just gives me more and more hope all the time when I see that. He was talking about devotees in Philadelphia. I'm sure Lavanya Mataji was on there, and so was Manasi Ganga. And he said, the rent was coming due, and I guess devotees didn't have enough money to pay the rent. So they went out, they said, well, we'll go out on Sankirtan. So they went out, and, they, in those days, they weren't distributing a lot of books or any, they weren't, it was early days. And he said a very well-dressed man came up to one of the devotees. I mean, really clean, I guess maybe in, who knows, I think maybe in, I don't know if he said he had a suit on, but he was very well-dressed. And he gave an envelope to the devotee and said, this is a donation for the devotees. And do you know what, later when they counted that money, it was the exact amount of money that was needed to pay the rent. And, Guru Maharaj was talking about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And I believe, and everyone believed at that moment, how could it have been other than Lord Chaitanya, who had come in a different, dress to give aid to the devotees. And they could not find him after, they either I don't know if he turned the corner or whatever. It was like he disappeared into thin air. They could never find this person again who had given the money. And, that's also another, for me, a very hopeful sign about how the Lord is eternally present and always helps us when we're in need. He really does. And he also explained, I believe, some devotees were in San Francisco. And I believe Malati Mataji was there in the early days. And once again, there was a certain amount of money that needed to be put together to pay the rent. Now, over there in San Francisco, you had better pay the rent quickly, or you're going to lose your apartment, your place right away, because people are right there to snap it up right away. And so this one even blew me away even more. Malati Mataji was walking, and in the air, it was in the wind, the money appeared out of nowhere in the air, and she was able to pick it up and use it to pay the rent. Now, if that is not Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, appearing to save those devotees that needed to, establish themselves in San Francisco, I just don't know what was. The Lord was always there, and he's always there for us too. And I know that, when I hear some of these miraculous stories, well, for me, those stories just enliven me and just make me realize the different ways the Lord is present for us, even when we cannot see him. And then we have, we have to have faith when we cannot see the Lord. And then if the Lord chooses, if he really wants to, out of his causeless mercy, he can show himself to us. That would that would be the most beautiful thing that could ever happen to me. That's all I have to say. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Would anybody else like to comment? We have Leela Mandry's, I don't know if she's just recording today, but she was on there. And I believe Prema Rasa is also there. And Dira Shantamachji is on the phone. I'm wondering if any of you would like to make any comments.
Mataji, I don't have anything specific to share, but I just want to thank you all for the very nice points you always bring up. It's always a joy to hear from all of you. So thank you all very much. Like at this moment, I don't have anything to add. I just wanted to appreciate the point you're making of how it's so important to actually build our faith and really have that hope that Krishna is there for us. So that's what I was getting mostly from your class today. So thank you again, Mataji. All of you, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Prema Rasa Mataji. Anyone else? Okay, then I guess we can close for today. Thank you very much for being here for me and helping me in my Krishna consciousness. And that's it then. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.